1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. I cannot tell you how many times I've counted crowds. Maybe it's just a thing that pastors do. We always want to know how many people are in the room for any event. Well, today our devotion comes from 2 Samuel chapter 24, and we're going to see where King David gets in trouble for counting. The chapter begins with David wanting to take a census to find out how many fighting men he has. And the commander, Joab, said, no, don't do it. Everyone tried to talk David out of it. Verse 3, may the Lord multiply your military troops 100 times over. But David, in pride, wanted to know. So they take off. They start to count. It takes over 9 months to count. And finally, when they get the count back, Israel has 800,000 fighting men. Judah has 500,000 fighting men. And it's at this point we pick up our story in verse 10. And David was conscience-stricken because of what he had done. He says this, I have sinned greatly in what I have done. Oh Lord, I beg you, take away the guilt of your servant. I have done a very foolish thing. David did commit some big sins in his life. If you were to mention the two biggest, you would probably think Bathsheba and this taking of the census instead of trusting in God. But David was also very good at confessing. And so God sends a prophet named Gad. And God gives David 3 options. David will be forgiven, but there are consequences. I'm telling you, severe. And that's true in our lives as well. God forgives us anytime we ask, but often consequences of our sin remain. For David, the prophet says, okay, you can choose. Lets him choose which of the 3 consequences. Either, according to verse 11, he says either 3 years of famine will come, or 3 months of defeat by your enemies, or 3 days of plague. What will it be? 3 years of famine, 3 months of fleeing from your enemy, or 3 days of plague? David says, I'm in deep distress, verse 14. But I'd rather fall into the hands of God because His mercy is great. So he chose 3 days of plague. And when the plague began, talk about severe. The scripture says 70,000 people died. 70,000. And you might think this is unfair. It was David's sin, not the people. But you might have missed the very first verse. Chapter 24, verse 1 says, the anger of the Lord burned against Israel. And so it is believed by many scholars that, although we're not told what the sin may have been, that the people who died in this plague were people being punished for their sin. And David is, in verse 17, David sees the angel that is bringing the plague, that's striking down the people. Listen to this prayer. Oh Lord, I've sinned. I, the shepherd, have done wrong. All these years later, shepherd boy David still saw himself as a shepherd, but now he's a shepherd of a nation. He said, these are the sheep. What have they done? Oh God, let your hand fall on me. And so what God does is he looks at the angel of the Lord and he says, enough, stop, withdraw your hand. And the angel of the Lord was at the threshing floor of Araunah, the Jebusite, when God spoke to him. And so David knows he has to do something, and so he buys the threshing floor, and he offers sacrifice, because that is the place where God's judgment and God's plague stopped. You know what's interesting? That location is Mount Moriah. It's the same place in Genesis chapter 22 where Abraham almost sacrificed his son Isaac, but God provided a ram. It's also the location where David's son Solomon would build the temple. It's a place in Israel, the Temple Mount, where I have been many times. Now, while David might have sinned greatly with Bathsheba gave birth to a boy named Solomon who would build a temple on this very spot. And while David may have committed a great sin in trying to count the people, it was after that he purchased the threshing floor. And it was a place for many, many years where sacrifices were made on behalf of the people. But it's because of a sacrifice made by Jesus that any of us can be forgiven. And when we sin, no matter how great or grave, we are one prayer away from grace, mercy, and forgiveness. Consequences might remain, but grace and forgiveness is always available when we cry out to the Lord for mercy. Maybe there's something in your life you need to talk to God about today. Why don't you pause, take a minute, and pray right now.